Yeah, and we'll start with what I just referenced being a really crazy story, and someone who has already transferred once and looks like he's going to be headed elsewhere already in a short span of time here. As Johntay Cook, wide receiver, former blue chip recruit in the 2023 recruiting class, was a 5-star, went to Texas, left Texas in the middle of the season in November, wasn't happy with his playing time, and was a big name on the market for pretty much a couple months since he entered the portal then. And Florida was in the mix. I know Gator fans were pretty upset when he didn't end up going there. It looks like they could have dodged a bullet here, as there's rumors he was getting into fights, missing workouts, late to workouts. With these rumors, you never know, but that's the early kind of word. And if you're Washington, good for you for cutting ties and making sure you don't let that infiltrate your locker room. If you're Johntay Cook, horrible, horrible sign here early on at Washington. And it's going to be interesting to see who takes a chance on him here.
Yeah, really unfortunate. This is a guy where you're watching the UTSA game this year, Texas played. He was shot out of a cannon. You could know nothing about the player and watch just how explosive he was and say, this is going to be a big-time guy with Coach Sark. Obviously, that doesn't work out. Other receivers shine. He does not. He goes on to Washington, expected to be a major piece in that puzzle for Washington. A lot of people thought he was going to Florida. Then he goes to Washington. And, again, like you said, very good for Washington for acting fast and not letting it become a bigger problem. But the problem is for them, this was their guy in the spring portal window, in the winter portal window. So now you have to go back to the spring portal window, add a receiver that hopefully is of equal talent or ability to Johntay Cook. Somebody's going to help your young quarterback as he continues to develop. Really like the signs you've seen from him, but he needs playmakers. This was going to be a big one, a very explosive one. So, yes, you did the right thing to move on, but Washington, I expect them to be one of the most active teams in that spring portal window for wide receivers, because you absolutely have to help your young quarterback. The whole program is built around him. So let's see what happens here with Washington. And then as far as the Johntay Cook side, I think junior college, especially if junior college doesn't count against your eligibility, which might be where this is trending with the Diego Pavia injunction, I think is a no-brainer for him. Go down there, get everything in order, and then try your hand at another school, behave. He's got a lot of football ahead of him. If he turns it around now, with a guy with his speed and ability, teams will be forgiving. But this year is going to have to be basically a rehab year where he's playing, staying out of trouble, doing the right things, and being featured. You also don't want to be just sitting on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is you look at the situation when he left Texas, and there was a report that Ewers had a $6 million offer on the table. Johntay Cook tweeting back, wasting y'all money for real. So again, the signs aren't great in terms of what he would bring to your locker room. But again, like you mentioned, this was a guy who, after Takario Davis at the cornerback spot for Washington, coming over from Arizona, was their most high-profile transfer in that offensive, and especially on that offensive side of the ball. So it had to have been pretty bad for them to move on.
Yeah, and again, like I mentioned earlier, Damon Williams is your future, your freshman quarterback. That bowl game against Louisville, where they just came up just short. He was dealing all the way up until the last throw. He's somebody that needs playmakers. You look at when Washington has had major success recently with Michael Penix. You had 3 NFL receivers around that quarterback. So that's the model here in Washington. So you got to continue to build up your playmakers in terms of, the wide receivers. There's not anybody that jumps out, aside from, of course, Denzel Boston, who is going to be one of the top receivers in the country next year. You don't see too much to build around with a Damon Williams. You need to add more.